In this video, we're going to cover a front foot elevated single leg calf raise. So what you're going to do to set up is grab a box or a second step on a staircase or a chair that can elevate your front foot. The front foot is elevated simply to get it out of the way and shift all the weight over the back foot. As we'll see, Nick's head, rib cage, pelvis, and midfoot on this bottom side are all relatively stacked over each other. In this case, we're using a yoga block to create a little bit of a slant board effect. Nick has at least half of his foot on there, if not 2/3 or so. What that's going to allow him to do is drop his heel past the plane of his foot in order to get a little more stretch or range of motion into the movement. If you have a slant board at home, that would work as well. If not, you can also set a few weight stacks up on each other in order to create that slant board effect. If you need hand support, what we'll do is grab a dowel. You can grab a railing if you are on that staircase, or you can grab a chair or something like that if you need something more sturdy. We're going to have two separate versions of calf raises that we cover in this video. The first one's going to be oriented towards our higher calf muscle being our gastroc. So Nick's going to keep his knee nice and locked out. We're going to search for the hip to not arch our back, but to more tuck our tail, so that we can feel some glute through foot connection. At that point, Nick's going to let his his heel, lower past the plane of his foot, and we're going to drive straight up towards the ceiling. One of the things you can do is imagine that you are getting either closer or farther from an object right in front of you. So especially if you're right in front of the wall, you can monitor that. What we want you to do is stay right in place in terms of that front to back motion and go straight up as best you can. There will always be a little bit of forward shift that occurs. We just want to take away as much as we can to keep the work right in this calf. As Nick's gotten about 6 or so reps here, and you'll see your sets and rep schemes described within your PDFs or within the program, what we're going to do is go to our bent knees. So Nick's going to chop this knee down, and we're going to get to the point where Nick seems like he's almost sitting into a chair. We're going to continue to try and keep that gentle tail tuck from our pelvis, and then we're going to drive the heel to the ceiling and try and feel that connection of the hip driving straight to the ceiling as well. We don't want to see this knee buckle forward or back. If Nick shows us one rep where that occurs, perfect, that's exactly it, is that we would see the hip didn't really actually go up anywhere, the knee just traveled forward. So Nick's going to go back to show us just a few more reps where the hip travels up. Perfect. So Nick can take a small break here. What we'll do then is essentially drop the hand support, and what we'll do is trade that out for weights. Now, for those of you who want to add weight and still need hand support, you can always go with a single arm support, where you have one hand on the essentially opposite side of the foot that's down, and then you can keep the weight on the same leg that you're working on. As I take that guy away, Nick will grab his other weight, because if we are feeling balanced, then essentially we're continuing to apply those principles of progressive overload to this, trying to strengthen the calf being the gastroc, and your soleus being this lower calf muscle that's going to be connected to your Achilles. As Nick shows us a few reps here, we'll see that he maintains all the same form that we had beforehand, and we aren't necessarily changing because there's weight on. You should still be able to move through a full range of motion and be able to move at a relatively comfortable pace. Great.